you doing, everybody? It's Melanie Thomas here, back with my next episode of Community Corner. Today, I have the honor of bringing on someone who's an old friend that I knew from another life. It's Tracey Forrester. Tracey, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, Melanie.
All right, good to see you. So today we're going to talk about something that nobody wants to talk about, but we all have to deal with. Death and dying is not everyone's favorite topic, but we're all going to kick the bucket one day. So it's important for us to have our affairs in place, and most people kind of put this off until it's unfortunately too late. So Tracey, tell me a little bit about why people should be thinking about what happens when they pass on.
Perfect, Melanie. Thank you so much. And you said it, right? None of us are meant to get out of this alive, right? It's a fact of life. And if you can find another way for us all to live forever, let me know what that is, because that's a business model that maybe I want to invest in, because that could be a big business, right? And also, I want to say I'm not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV. So whatever I'm saying today is just me speaking from my heart and from experience. I spent 40 years not getting a will. I put it off. I had these misconceptions that it was going to be a long, lengthy process. It was going to cost a lot. And quite frankly, I thought that there were going to be, old men with white hair, smoking cigars and a wood paneling, smelling like leather. I had to go to this office and they were going to judge me about how much I had or didn't have to leave my children. So I just kind of put it off, right? It's just one of those things. And then I found a way where I can get my will done affordably and easily. And I felt like a grown-up that I actually put this in place. To be able to get that done is priceless. We see what's going on with the government these days. There's a couple places where I feel, the government shouldn't step in. That's deciding, where your children go, and who gets possession, or who gets to say where your assets go that you've worked so hard for all your life. We want to provide the best things for our family, the best schools for our children, the best houses we want to live in. We want to provide them financial stability. But what happens to all of those things that we worked so hard for all of our lives after our passing? What do we say? Good luck with that. I'm out of here. Figure it out on your own. No, we should be able to put these, our wishes in place while we're still here, while we're still cognizant to do so, because we just don't know what's around the corner. I mean, look at this awful pandemic. No one expected this. And look how many people have, succumbed to this virus unexpectedly.
Right? Some people get sick and then they're dead in a week, and they can't even talk to people, and they can't even see your family. So you may get caught out there like that with no warning. So it's interesting you brought something up. You said when you were thinking about doing it for yourself, you were like, oh, they would judge what I have. So I think a lot of the misconception is people think, well, I don't have a lot of money. What is the point? I don't have assets. I don't have an estate. Well, you brought up stuff like your children, things like people don't think about that, right? So just because you might, work a 9 to 5 and not have $1 million in, a stock account, does that mean you don't need a will? But, again, just elaborate on that. It doesn't matter what your financial status is, that, you still have things that you have to sort out after you pass on, right?
Absolutely. Our children, the foster care system, as great as it may be, is being inundated and overloaded these days, because a lot of us think, oh, when I pass, my family will just take my kids, right? Hollywood has made millions of dollars of, making movies where they just drop the kid off on some long lost relative's doorstep, and that relative's expected to take care of that child. Well, a lot of our family members, one, they didn't sign up to take care of our kids. Will they step in? Maybe. Maybe some of us, quite frankly, have kids that none of our family want to take care of, all right? Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, honest, I would concur with that.
Let's be real. But we shouldn't assume that somebody else is going to take care of our children without having that conversation with them, because that's not putting our children's best interests first, right? That's not saying, we want our children to feel loved and wanted to be taken care of, it, and not assume that somebody wants to do that. So we definitely need to have that conversation to figure out where our children are going to go upon our passing, right? And, couples, you need to have that conversation, because when I was married, I always assumed that my parents would take care of my kids when I passed. But I never took into consideration, well, what if my ex-husband's parents want to take care of my children? And then there's a battle in court over who's going to get the children because both sets of grandparents want the children, right? Where did the children go in the meantime? They go to the foster care system. So it could be so many people want our children and they're fighting over them, or there could be nobody wants to take care of our children and they wind up in the same place. So super important. And I know you said that we don't have a lot of things to give. Sometimes kids don't even want our money. They want a piece of mom, a piece of dad. They want our wedding ring or our jewelry or, somebody told me about a parent who used to gather her family members around the Thanksgiving dinner table at Thanksgiving time. Well, in her will, she left one chair of her dining room set to each one of her children
Wow.
with the stipulation to bring back the chairs to that dinner table every year at Thanksgiving. That's value. That doesn't cost anything, but that's memories that somebody can leave in their will.
Right. And
So,
it can definitely get messy when you have, relatives or siblings fighting over who mom or dad would have wanted this to go to or that to go to. So that put it in writing. There's no disputing, it's there. These are the wishes. Have you seen people do like video wills and stuff like that now? Has that been like a thing? So it's like it's no dispute that this is the person actually speaking their wishes and not, being coerced into writing something. Has that been a thing?
I have not seen that be a thing, and it would depend if that would be admissible in court also, because as forward as technology is, that doesn't mean the laws have caught up with what's being admissible and what's not being admissible, and it's going to be individual for every single state. So
Okay.
I would definitely still put it in writing, get it notarized. Just because you write something down doesn't make it official. It needs to be notarized and recognized
So I'm
as
glad you
being.
bring that up. So yeah, some people say, well, I wrote it down on a notepad and it's in my drawer. So if anything, those are the things that I want to happen. If something happens to me, that's not good enough, obviously.
That's not good enough. Nope, that's not good enough. It's still, and that's the reason why they go through probate also, because the court has to decide, is this a valid will, right? Or were you coerced? Is there another edition, a later version of that will in place, or does anyone know? So they have to figure out those things before they can make sure that will is carried out.
Okay. So what have you heard when you try to talk to people about this? What kind of, do you get any pushback from people, that say, what's the biggest thing that you think people take for granted, why they don't do this? Because I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't think, other than they, like you said, they might think it's cost prohibitive. But what other reason could they have for not wanting to do this other than just not wanting to face reality, I guess?
Right. That's probably one of the big ones. They don't like to talk about death, or they think if they put their will in place, it's talking about death. It's not. I like to call it your last love letter to your family. So it doesn't have to be about death. It's about taking care of your family after you're no longer here. Cost is a big issue. I Googled how much the average will cost in the state of Florida, and I took it from two different sources, and it said it can cost from 300 to 1,500, with the average being $1,000 per person per will, and that's one will. So if you want to have a will and your spouse wants to have a will, that's $2,000. And heaven forbid you want to make any changes. So that's why when I found a way to get it easily and affordably, and I get to update it every single year at no additional cost, as my life changes, as I buy a house, as I sell a house, as one day I hope to get grandchildren, in the far, far future. As I have those things and additional people in my life, I want to be able to update it and not have to worry about cost. So that was super important to me. And that's one of the reasons why I became so passionate to say, if I can do it, and if it's this easy, what the heck have I been doing for the last 40 something years, and not having one in place? I'm not that old, by the way. I say
Right.
40 something
I
years,
know.
but
I know. So tell me, how can people do this? So you're saying it's affordable. So what is it that
Right.
you're saying it's making it so easy to do this, and how can people explore that with you?
Okay, so I've partnered with a company called Legal Shield, which offers affordable legal access to the justice system. And you can start your will very conveniently right from an app on your phone, or a workbook that I give you to start that process. And then you just either click a button, submit it to your law firm that way, or you can mail it to your law firm that's already been vetted and specializes in estate planning. And yeah, it was so easy. And like I said, it's affordable. And I'm happy to talk to anybody who's interested more about that. Just know, you know what I mean? Like, have that knowledge. If it's not for you, great. At least know what you're saying no to. But it's a definitely an opportunity for you to get these documents in place. And Melanie, another one. I know we've been talking about wills, but that living will,
Mm.
healthcare and financial power of attorneys are super
Yeah, let's talk
important
about
also.
that. So we talked about coronavirus earlier, right? So you have
Hmm.
these people, and we know this is real. It's all, we see it every day. They get sick, they get to the hospital, and not allowed to be around any of your relatives. You don't, can only FaceTime them or whatever. If you're in a situation, you're on a ventilator, you can't even speak, and you're dead
Hmm.
in 6 days, or you're dying and nobody knows what to do. Tell us about what that living, how that, in a situation like that, why a living will would be important. What's the difference between a will and a living will for those that don't know?
Okay, perfect. First of all, the first question the attorneys, I'm sorry, the physicians are asking when people go into the hospital is, do you have a living will? Because they want to know what to do. So that's a document that's put in place, what your wishes are, should you be in a situation where you cannot speak for yourself. It gives the physicians the authority to to know what you want to have done, right? This is also a burden that should not be put on our families either to try to make that decision for you, right? A friend of mine has a young man who his wife was sorry, not his wife, his mother was put on a on life support, and they put him in charge to make that decision because the mom's wishes were not, she didn't have a will, she didn't have a living will. So he did not know what to do. He still carries this burden to this day. Did he make the right decision?
Hmm.
Did he make that decision the right, what his mother would have wanted to pull that plug from his mom? Could you imagine that burden
No,
that to carry? Um, so that's super important. And I know maybe many people out here remember the Terry Schiavo case,
right?
um, where this
Florida
young
again.
boy, I'm sorry,
Said Florida again.
Florida again, right? This young woman,
Yeah.
horrific accident where she wasn't put on life support, but she was, in
Right.
essence, it is because she was put on a feeding tube, and her husband said that she would not want to live like this because she was, he felt that she was not all there. I'm lost for the words right now, but he felt that she would not want to live this way. Her parents fought to keep her alive, saying, "No, my daughter's in there. She would want to live. She's alive." And he said, "This is not the way she want to live." Because there was no document in place, it went into court for 8 years.
Right.
8 years.
All
This
the way to
poor woman,
Congress. Yeah. So that was crazy. And yeah, that could be,
crazy.
if her
And
wishes
also,
were known, then it would have been an open and shut case. Nobody would have been able to argue. I mean, people can still try, but it's not likely to override what the person's wishes were, right?
right, is exactly. So that that was a trying case, and I don't want to say because neither side won, if you will, but the court sided with the husband, and ultimately the feeding tube was removed. So this poor woman had to go through that even longer. So I just say all that to say, put it in place today so we all know what your wishes are, right? So your family knows what your wishes are, should you be in that situation. And accidents happen, right? We don't plan for them. Things happen, life happens, and our life is here and can be just like that. So
Yeah.
create these letters for your family, get
Yeah,
these
I think
documents.
that's a powerful point you made about, if for nothing else, don't put that burden on your family. As we can all imagine, when something like that happens, everyone is, in shock and grieving, and you
Right,
don't want to have your loved ones arguing at that moment, or maybe, not in their rational mind,
right,
because of all they're going through, having to deal with all this administrative stuff and life and death decisions because
right.
you just decided you didn't have time to think about it beforehand, or you could put it off till later, because you can't put it off till later. So we can't stress that enough. Again, not to be Debbie Downers in the new year, but at this time of year, it's a good time to look over everything that you have, going forward, how you want to plan your year or whatever. This should be number one on your list if you don't have it in place already. Whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, everybody has something. And
That's right.
like you said, if you die without leaving that your wish is known, the state is going to decide what happens to your stuff. I don't think anybody wants that. So
You know,
super, super important, again, not to put that burden on your family. That I think is the most powerful point, particularly those of us that have children. Imagine if they're young children, you know. So
exactly. And it's definitely not Debbie Downer as far as I'm concerned, because we have an opportunity. We get to decide, when that's a beautiful thing, what happens to be able to take care of our families long after we're no longer here. That is beautiful. My mom, my dad, my grandparents did this for me. How beautiful is that? So it's not, for me, it's not a down moment. It's a great positive moment that we have an opportunity to do while we're here. So
Okay. How can people sign up for this? You said it's as easy as putting it on an app. How would they reach out to you? What does it cost? Like, how does that all work? How would somebody get this rolling if they're interested in doing this with you?
I would definitely love to share my, well, they can give me a call, of course. Send me an email, Tracey at traceyforrester.com. And can also go to my website. It's T Lee, spelled Leigh, dot ladiesofjustice.com. That's where I can be contacted. And you can actually find out more information about it on my website. The cost is just $24.95 a month, which, if you think about that for the year, that's $299.90. The cost of less than one will per person, and you get to update it every single year at no additional cost. But there's so many other things that go along with that membership, because it's a membership based service that I would
Not
love
just
to
the
tell
will,
everyone about.
so there's other things that you could get from that service as well, other than other legal type services, other than just the creation of wills.
Creation of wills, and again, that living will, that power of attorney, healthcare and financial power of attorney are also included with that. So I didn't even talk about the cost of the living will uh, and power of attorneys, right?
All right, so
So
all of
super
that
valuable.
is included in that
All
24.
of it's included. Yes.
Okay. Are there any other services that come along with that membership other than just the wills and stuff like that?
There's IRS audit assistance. There is contract and document reviewed. There's unlimited consultation with a licensed vetted attorney specializing in whatever area of law you have a question about. Because, knowing what our legal rights are, if we don't know what they are, we might as well not even have any, right? And important for me too, and I'm just going over them quickly, there's a 24-hour day emergency access button on that phone. So if you find yourself in an emergency situation, you're driving down the road, you get into a traffic accident, God forbid, and you don't know what to do, or you see those flashing blue lights behind you and you're not sure what to do, tap that app and an attorney will be on the phone with you in a moment, right? I don't know the Miranda rights verbatim, but they say, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law, right? The minute you say, I don't know, I'm sorry, I didn't see, you're admitting guilt. So before you say anything, find out what your rights are in any given situation.
You can tap and get a lawyer on the phone right then and there, 24/7.
Within seconds. They
Wow.
are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm just, I don't know if you can see it on my phone, but I'm going to briefly, I don't know if you can see that. No, it's too bright.
Sure. Well,
My bright light. But
probably
anyway, that's an app. I would love to share it with whoever is interested in learning more information. Again, at least know what you're saying. If it's not for you, at least know what you're saying no to, right? You should just explore it, explore all the options. And I found it to be a very valuable option for me. Also, Melanie has family domestic services. So if you find yourself in an uncontested divorce, name change, adoption, or separation, your attorney's fees are covered 100%. I'm not ashamed to say I was going through a divorce. That's how I stumbled upon this. A friend reminded me, hey, why don't you check out Legal Shield? And I did. And I'm just so blessed because when I saw an outside attorney, they were quoting me $4,000 as the friend's rate,
what?
right? Exactly, to get this started. What $2,500 of a retainer to get it started. And I said I didn't have $2,500, and they were like, oh, just get it from your ex-husband.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's easy.
Anyway,
Well, it's funny you bring that up because a lot of people who may be separated or, not wanting to go through with the divorce because of the cost, that kind of ties into the will thing because that spouse is still your next of kin if you haven't divorced them. And if something happens to you, your life decisions or your estate decisions could be being made by, a disgruntled ex-spouse because you didn't want to pay the money to make the divorce final. So that is
Melanie, that happened in my own family.
really,
They were separated for 40 years.
wow.
He passed, and the ex-wife was still named as his, or still liable for his estate
His,
because
okay.
yes,
That's crazy. So yeah, again, something for people to think about it. They just don't realize that just because you're separated, if you're still legally married, that person still has legal attachment and legal rights to your estate. So get it done, people. So
Get it
all of
done.
that could be done in this application, and it's
Absolutely. Yes.
awesome. Awesome. That is something that everybody should look into. I'm going to put Tracey's contact information up here at the end here again for everybody to take a look at. Reach out to her. We're old friends from our past life. Well, we could talk a little bit about that. Back in NYC, right? We were part of the
Back in NYC.
HG crew. All right. So we're still
Go
going
New York,
strong
go
here.
New York, go.
What's that?
Remember, go New York, go New York, go.
That's right. That's right. The Knicks, the good old Knicks. So anyway, thank you, Tracey, for sharing this important information. People, please take heed to this. This is not, we're not selling something here. This is important. I've signed up myself. I'm going to get did my will when my son was 2. He's now 19. So it's time to update that because he's now an adult and he can do things, and the way the will is written has to be changed. So I'm going to take advantage of it myself. And I implore everybody to take a look at this. We are living in crazy times. We are not promised anything here, people. So get your ducks in a row so that your family is not left trying to figure out what the heck you had going on. Make it easier for them, because you know it's not easy when times like that occur. So do your best, do your parts. All right.
There you are.
All right, Trace, anything else you want to share with anyone before we sign off here about this, or anything that we didn't cover?
Well, there's so much to cover, but Melanie, I understand. I thank you so much for the opportunity to briefly speak to folks about the importance of getting their estate planning in order. And I would love to have a conversation with anyone who's interested in learning more.
All right,
Thank you.
No obligation to that, right? And
no obligation. I do host a wine and will workshop on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. I will post it on Facebook today. For the next one is on the 14th. So please, if you want to know more information, definitely love to have folks on that wine and will workshop as well.
Awesome. So people can ask direct questions about all the services there to you as well, if they have any additional questions. All right.
Yes, there'll be time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation.
All right, people will definitely take advantage of that. Tracey is very open and she's free to share any information with you that you have questions about. So again, thank you so much for joining me today, Tracey. Do the right thing, people. Get your stuff in order. 2021, it's crazy times. Let's get it right here, okay? I'll see everybody next time on Community Corner. Thanks again, Tracey.
Thank you so much, Melanie.
All right, take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.